There have been some iconic gimmicks in WWE, from Undertaker to Mankind. These gimmicks were legendary and beloved by fans. But there's also those gimmicks which were well received by fans but were dropped by WWE for nonsensical reasons. These gimmicks are sometimes the highlight of a superstar's career, but as soon as the gimmick dropped, their career began to dwindle in mediocrity. But which ones were they? Well, join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 WWE gimmicks that were cancelled way too soon. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our non-wrestling channel, Incredible. Number 10. Raven's masterpiece. In 2002, Raven was banished to Sunday Night Heat, and whilst this was a demotion, Raven made the most of his time on WWE's C Show. He would debut a brand new gimmick, and this would involve him stating on a weekly basis that he was going to unveil his own masterpiece. This gimmick had a ton of intrigue, and it actually made fans tune into Heat to see how Raven's gimmick was actually going to develop. This masterpiece would later be revealed to be the 7 Deadly Sins. He was going to use the 7 Deadly Sins to show the hypocrisy of mankind. It was smart, unique, and was far too compelling to be just on Heat. During this time, Raven began to snap his opponent's fingers. This was something vastly different for a WWE character to do, and it certainly made him stand out when compared to other talent on the roster. This gimmick continued for a number of months before it was cancelled as Raven was moved back to Raw. Number 9. Evil Doink the Clown. When Doink the Clown first debuted in '93, he was an evil prankster clown that, whilst menacing, was able to out-wrestle virtually everyone on the roster. This gimmick was fantastic, and the character was perfect for the new generation era. The character worked because it was legitimately scary, and while cartoonish in nature, Doink was presented as a legitimate threat, meaning that fans of all ages were able to take him seriously. Sadly, they decided to turn Doink into a comedic relief babyface less than a year into his heel run. This completely ruined Doink's presentation and character. Number 8. The Devil's Advocate, Sean O'Haire. From the moment vignettes aired for Sean O'Haire's Devil's Advocate character in 2003, fans were excited. The gimmick involved O'Haire inviting WWE fans to indulge in their most carnal desires. He would advise fans against paying taxes and would even encourage fans to cheat on their spouse. This gimmick was unlike anything that had ever been done on the WWE roster, and it was clear that they had big plans for O'Haire as he was paired with legendary performer Rowdy Roddy Piper. Unfortunately, this pairing did more damage than good, as the Devil's Advocate gimmick was stripped away and O'Haire was virtually a henchman for Piper. The gimmick being dropped killed fan intrigue in O'Haire and consequently completely squandered his chance to become a top guy in the company. Number 7. Ministry Taker. The Ministry version of The Undertaker was one of the most famous incarnations of the Dead Man, but it was actually rather short-lived. The Ministry version of Taker only debuted on screen in late 1998, but it was truly incredible. Taker was more demonic and sinister than ever before, and it was one of the many highlights of the Attitude Era. At the start of 1999, The Undertaker recruited several WWE superstars to join his Ministry of Darkness, and the stable embarked in a feud with Vince McMahon's corporation. Whilst this made for unbelievable television, the Ministry of Darkness later joined forces with the corporation to now form the Corporate Ministry in one of the most lackluster moments of the respective era. The stable would come to an end in summer of 1999, and the Dead Man would enter into an underwhelming partnership with the Big Show known as the Unholy Alliance. This saw the Dead Man virtually drop the demonic Ministry character as he was slowly but surely evolving into the American Badass. Number 6. Broke Baron Corbin. A Broke Baron Corbin was without a doubt the best work of Corbin's entire career. The gimmick surfaced when he lost the King of the Ring crown to Shinsuke Nakamura, and then it was revealed that due to losing his crown and king status, he had lost his car, his investments, his savings, and his wife left with their daughter. Corbin also debuted a new disheveled look which saw him grow out his facial hair and wear the same clothes for weeks on end. The commitment to his character was second to none, and Corbin's social media game was also top notch. He would launch a GoFundMe style page which was called CorbinFund.com, and it was believed that most of his character work was off his own back rather than any specific direction from management. Following SummerSlam in 2021, they claimed that Corbin had turned his luck around in Las Vegas and become filthy rich. The Broke Corbin character was dropped far too soon, and there were so many exciting segments and feuds that the character could have been involved in. Number 5. The Black Heart. Following the Montreal Screwjob in '97, they took a brand new approach with Owen Hart's gimmick and character. He would now become the Black Heart. He would debut this character at the Generation X In Your House pay-per-view, where he attacked Shawn Michaels in the main event. Fans were on the side of Hart and there was a clear demand to see a feud between HBK and Hart. He would continue his attacks on HBK for the next few weeks before a promo segment with Vince McMahon took the character to the next level. McMahon began to berate Hart, and this was when he declared that he was going to make McMahon and DX's lives a living hell. The crowd became unglued for Hart, chanting his name, and his character had ascended to one of the top babyfaces in the entire company. The match between Hart and HBK should have headlined a pay-per-view, but it was placed on an episode of Raw, meaning it didn't feel as special as it should have. The match was won by Hart but via DQ after the other members of DX interfered. This would lead to a WrestleMania match between Hart and DX member Triple H, but the spark was gone and his gimmick had already had everything removed from it which made it special. Just a few weeks after his WrestleMania loss, Hart would turn heel, joining the Nation in Domination, completely abandoning the beloved Black Hart character. Number 4. Bad News Barrett. In late 2013, Wade Barrett debuted a brand new character and gimmick known as Bad News Barrett. He would have a podium at ringside and he would declare he had some bad news. He would then say something cruel in nature to get the fans to boo him, but his delivery was rather comedic. This gimmick would evolve into weekly segments at the top of the stage and Barrett got his own podium which went up and down. The gimmick was hilarious and without a doubt the character that Barrett needed to get to the next level. He would win the IC title, but this reign wouldn't last too long as Barrett sadly separated his shoulder, forcing him to surrender the title. When he eventually returned, the gimmick remained for a short period before WWE cancelled it altogether out of fear that Barrett was going to become too popular. Number 3. Undashing Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes' character went through a huge change in early 2011. Rhodes had his nose broken during a match with Rey Mysterio and this forced him to wear a protective mask for all of his matches. He would then go by the name of Dashing Cody Rhodes, a vain narcissist to Undashing Cody Rhodes, a damaged soul who was unhinged by the damage to his face. Rhodes would begin to hand out paper bags to the audience so they could cover their faces and hide their imperfections. It was a genius gimmick and Rhodes' work during this time period was truly exceptional. Rather randomly in November of 2011 during a street fight with Randy Orton on SmackDown, Orton broke Rhodes' mask and this signaled the premature end of the Undashing character. Number 2. Main Event Jay Uso. Well, the first major feud of Roman Reigns' heel run was against his cousin Jay Uso. When this first began, there was a ton of reservations surrounding Jay being thrown into the main event scene as a former tag team champion would alter his gimmick and he would become Main Event Jay Uso. Uso was now a credible, legitimate threat who somehow overnight managed to become a top guy in the company. His character work was second to none and his in-ring work had never been better. He'd wrestled 2 pay-per-view matches against Reigns for the Universal title and both of these matches were acclaimed by fans and truly showed what Jay was capable of. His push continued even when his brother Jimmy was forced with Reigns to create the Bloodline and Jay would win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Unfortunately, the push and gimmick change was slowly fizzled out and Jay became once again an established tag team guy. WWE had a brand new main event talent on their hands with Main Event Jay Uso, but they clearly thought he was better off competing in the tag team division for the rest of his career. And number 1, the new Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan took the biggest risk of his career in 2018 as he was going to turn heel and debut a brand new villainous character. He'd been one of the top baby faces in the company and leaving this behind for something brand new could have seriously backfired, but thankfully it didn't. Bryan would become the new Daniel Bryan and become obsessed with the environment and recycling, and his entire heel persona was based on sustainability. This character on paper shouldn't have worked, but it did, and it was pure magic. Bryan would even ditch the WWE title design in favor of a design which was made entirely of sustainable materials. This was incredible character work from Bryan and he actually managed to get the fans to boo him. He would be paired with Eric Rowan, which whilst was a strange choice, the two had fantastic chemistry and Rowan really added to Bryan's character and presentation. The gimmick came to an end in October 2019 as WWE abruptly turned Bryan back into a babyface where he remained for his final years of his WWE career. But there you have it folks, 10 WWE gimmicks that cancelled way too soon. Be sure to leave your comments down below and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.